Okay, hey, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here at Morning at Mac. We've been on a little bit of a hiatus as we've sort of gotten our 47th season planned and underway here, but we're back this morning with the great and one and only Seth Rudetsky, who will be coming out to Monroe on October 30th to join us here for our grand reopening after 19 months of being closed. So good morning, Seth. Thank you so much for being here with us. I really appreciate you taking the time. For those who don't know Seth, Seth is a musician. He's an accompanist, a composer, an arranger. I think you've got probably more than a dozen Broadway shows under your belt, probably way more than that at this point. Seth is also an actor. And I have to tell you, I was watching, I never watched Bunheads before. I was watching it a couple of weeks ago, and oh my God, there you are with the great Sutton Foster. You're also a writer. You were a writer on the Rosie O'Donnell Show. And you're also do many podcasts, and you're a radio host for the Sirius XM afternoon show on Broadway.
Yeah.
With all that, thank you so much again for taking time for us.
No problem.
I just wanted to kind of start at the beginning in our conversation. And I know that you were raised in New York City. Is that correct?
No, I was raised in New York, but not New York City. I was raised in a place called Jamaica, Queens for a couple of years. And then I moved to Long Island, but very close to the city. So I got to go see Broadway shows when I was a kid.
Oh, so you were always kind of a kid who loved Broadway and musicals and...
Yeah, my parents really loved just the arts period. So they took me to a lot of things, but it was Broadway that I really loved. And when I was in second grade, instead of going to a hotel for winter break, like a wintry hotel, they decided to spend the money on seeing Broadway shows. So it was in the 70s. We saw Pippin and Grease and The Pajama Game. And that's when I completely became obsessed with Broadway. I was around 7 years old. And after that, it was like, Annie and the Chorus in Chicago, like everything. Sweeney Todd, all those original casts, I completely became obsessed with.
That's so cool. So were you a musical kid then? Did you play an instrument?
Yeah, I started playing piano when I was 5, and I advanced very quickly. So I was, playing a lot of piano. Of course, I was playing classical, so it was kind of a separate world in a sense, but I was definitely playing piano all the time, and I used to hate practicing, so I would set my oven timer for 30 minutes because I had to practice for 30 minutes a day. It was so boring. But I'm glad I did, because I got into Oberlin Conservatory. I got my chops up, but I really hated it.
Practicing, not Oberlin.
Right. No, I loved Oberlin, but I hated practicing.
Yeah, that's in Ohio, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a wonderful school. Yeah. So were you, when you were in high school and stuff, were you always in the plays and did?
Yeah, I always wanted to do Broadway. So I was always doing, I was the president of the International Thespian Society, and I did the shows, and I was auditioning for professional theater as well for Broadway shows. Not that I ever got any Broadway shows, but I was certainly auditioning for them. And basically, I went to college for class. There were musical theater majors back in the 80s, but it just wasn't as prevalent as it was now. So I didn't even know I could do that kind of. So I became a classical piano major, but my whole focus was always to do Broadway. I just knew that I could get into a college based on my classical piano chops, but I wasn't ever interested in being a classical pianist. I just kind of got into school because of that, but I was always doing theater. That's all I ever did.
So then how did that sort of break come for you when you come to you that you started performing?
I guess, well, I kind of have always done everything. So when I was in college, I got a summer stock job as an assistant music director. So I really got involved in the professional theater scene as a music director. So I moved to New York and was a music director and was playing piano for Broadway shows like, Les Mis and Phantom, but also conducting sometimes. But at the same time, I would always be friends with the actors, and we'd be writing comedy shows together and performing. So I was always kind of doing everything at once. And I wrote some comedy sketches for this big Broadway variety show for Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS. And Rosie O'Donnell saw it, and she said, "Can you write stuff like that for my TV shows?" That's how I became a comedy writer on TV. It's like everything kind of led to another. And then one of the guys I worked with, Jack Plotnick, we worked in an off-Broadway show together. He was an actor and I was a music director. We began writing comedy together, and that's what eventually turned into us writing a Broadway show together. And that's how we wrote Disaster and got it to Broadway. But I was the pianist originally, and he was in it. But then we wrote the show together, and then I wrote myself a role, so I got to be in it, and I also wrote it. So I've always just sort of had my hand in like a lot of different areas at once.
Yeah. So I know your spouse is James Wesley.
Yeah, husband.
And did you guys meet in a show, or how did that?
No, not at all. We met, I just broken up with someone, and I was on like some dating site, and someone from the Broadway scene saw me in the dating site and said, "Oh, I recognize you." I said, "You're single. I'm doing a singles game night, and I love games." So I went to this game night, and near the end of it, James showed up, and he had just adopted his daughter. So at the end, we were chatting, and I said, I do these Broadway cruises for gay parents and their kids, because I was working on the Rosie O'Donnell cruise at the time. And I said, I could always get you a discount if you want to come. It wasn't even really romantic. I was just like, oh, he's got a kid. And then he wrote me a really, really polite letter. And I was like, oh, you're so nice. We should go out on a date. And then we went on a date, and, I'd just broken up with someone. So I thought it was going to be like this year of me dating like 50 different people, because I've been like with the same person for 10 years. I was like, I can't wait. But then as soon as we went on a date, I was like, now we have to get married. So basically, I knew we were going to get married, and I never had that whole year of like playing the field. After it's probably 3 dates, I realized we were going to get married. So anyway, we met at a game night.
Well, I'm sorry you missed your year, but you guys are so wonderful together. And one of the things I did want to talk about tonight, this morning, was the philanthropy that you and James are involved in. I know that you seem to actually just thrive on helping other people, and James too. And I know that you've been involved with the Actors Fund for a very long time. Starters in the House, when COVID started, you guys have raised over $1 million for the Actors Fund. I know that you and I have met each other through Best in Shows, which raises funds for the Humane Society in New York. I know that you do foster care and adoption. You raise money for that, and just various things that come up. I was reading about the shooting in Orlando and the money that you raised to support that. So I want you to address that. First of all, for people who may not know exactly what the Actors Fund is and what, where those funds go to, if you want to explain that a little bit.
Sure. I always say the Actors Fund is a misnomer, which is not just my drag name, but basically it means that it's not just for actors. It's just titled wrong. It's for anybody in the arts. So definitely actors, but anybody backstage, like stage managers, makeup people, hairdressers, anybody front of house, box office, ushers, anybody in TV, film, no matter what you do in the entertainment field, you can go to actorsfund.org and they'll give you direct financial assistance. Like they'll pay your rent, they'll pay your medical bills. They'll also help you. Like I just ran into someone on the street who's this really successful real estate agent, and he said he was an actor, but the Actors Fund paid for his real estate course. And now every time he sells an apartment in New York, he always gives a donation to the Actors Fund. So they'll really help with anything. If you're at all involved in the arts professionally, they will help you. So James, when the pandemic hit, James and I knew they were going to be, swamped because everyone was going to be out of work. So we started this live stream, Stars in the House, like you mentioned, where a lot of times we do reunions, like ER and Grey's Anatomy and stuff. Lately, we've been doing a lot of game nights. We just did Fame versus Glee, and the week before we did Little House on the Prairie versus the Waltons. And people watch it as live, and they donate to the Actors Fund, and we're almost at $1.1 million. We're really close to it, but it's a great organization, the Actors Fund.
Yeah, that's just incredible. I know even just, in my little corner of the world, the kindness that people have shown to our organization, like, as I said, we've been closed for 19 months. So we could not have existed through all this without the kindness of the people around us. So
Art, yeah, especially, Broadway got, some pretty big money from the government, but I know smaller theaters like yours are, it's amazing you guys didn't shutter, and it's so cool that I get to be the person to reopen it. And it's actually a perfect show to reopen it because it's all about the love of theater, and it's a comedy show, but it's all about theater.
Yeah. And we're finding that too, as we reopen. Like, we knew that it was never going to be a light switch, that it was just going to take a lot of time for people to sort of gear back up. But yeah, we've been very fortunate, and we're blessed that people like you will come and support us as we try and get through this first year. Again, we've put a lot of mitigations in place. We're working with the health department here to make sure that everybody's safe. And I know that's a big thing for you as well.
Yeah, we work closely with Dr. John LaPook from CBS. He's our medical correspondent for Stars in the House, and he is like always talking to Tony Fauci, as he calls him. He's always with Dr. Fauci, so he's really kept us informed on really how to keep things safe. And right now I have a show that's running off Broadway, which is basically the show I'm going to be doing for you. And we really went through everything to make sure everyone's vaccinated, everybody's masked. it's really a lot about filtration and the ventilation that's so important. You know, it all began with people being obsessed with hand sanitizer, and it's spread, it's aerosol spread. So it's like everyone got this thing in their head that it's from surfaces, and it's not. It's really about, that's why masks are so important, because it's spread through the air. So I'm glad that you guys are following such strict protocols. It's going to keep it safe for the audience and for the performers.
Yep, it's the only way we can reopen. So, so I know you're really busy, and I don't want to take too much of your time, but I thought I would ask you some questions and put you on the spot a little bit. So I want to know what moment in a show just left you speechless.
Probably there's this moment in Les Mis where Judy Kuhn is Cosette. I think I talk about it on the show, but she sings, it goes, not a train after. And she hits this crazy B flat. I was in the audience and I was like, what is that sound? I was like, is that like a weird oboe in the pit? I kept trying to figure out what the hell is making that noise. And I was like, it's a person? I still remember being in shock that she could hit that note. So I had such a vivid memory seeing her in the original cast of Les Mis. I completely flipped out. So for sure that. And another one is in Dreamgirls when they're having a big fight and they're singing the song Heavy, Heavy. And this curtain comes down as they're fighting. And 5 seconds later, you hear like, please welcome Incredible Dreams. And they come through the curtain in a totally different costume. It was like, what? So those two things were like amazing. It was like a 5-second costume change. It was incredible.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah. So just going back to, you said that, you know, you went to Broadway with your parents all the time. And what was the show that just, you mentioned a couple, but what was that one show that just clinched it for you that you said, okay, this is this is what I have to do?
It was for sure the Pajama Game, and which is interesting because it was such a short run. It was the 1-month revival, or 2 months maybe, in the 70s with Hal Linden and Cab Calloway and Barbara McNair. It was this really unsuccessful revival, but just became obsessed with it. It's like, you know, it has this one song. I think there's really a specific type of song on Broadway that's never done anywhere else, which is kind of like a group number where people are singing different parts, where there are no pop songs like that. And in the Pajama Game, they're all in a factory. So one group is going, hurry up. Another group's going, can't waste time, can't. And third group's going, when you're racing with the clock. And I love the counterpart. And that's nothing you can hear in really any other musical genre, the kind of thing where all people are singing different parts. So I completely became obsessed. It wasn't Pippin and Grease. I literally fell asleep during both those shows. Not that they're bad shows, but back in the 70s, Broadway began at 8:30 at night, and I was 7. So I was just like, good night. But Pajama Game, for whatever reason, I was riveted. And after that, I was like, I have to do Broadway.
That's very cool. So you work with a lot of people. Were you ever in your career able to work with them then? Any of those folks from Pajama Game?
Oh, so funny you say that. I did get to bring Hal Linden on my radio show. And yeah, tell him that I became obsessed with Broadway because of his revival. Absolutely. Yeah, it's funny you say that. Definitely. Yeah, really, you know, people don't realize it when they're on stage who's in the audience and who's being influenced. But I completely flipped out from it. And I did get to tell him that. So yes, Barney Miller himself, Hal Linden.
That's so cool. I love that. And it's so full circle too. I love that. Okay. So one more. What is your absolute favorite song from any show?
Just, I guess, off the top of my head, probably, I mean, it's so specific, but it's the fight scene from Dreamgirls. Again, it's that whole thing about different people. It's the end of Act 1. And everyone is fighting, but it's sung. You know, it's there you are, Effie. I've been looking all over. I turn my back and find myself out on the line. You could have warned me. So I just love that everyone is, it's a song, but it's all different people doing different parts. And I can listen. I have so many bootlegs and different versions. I can listen to that song because it's always sung differently, no matter what group does it, because it's kind of, there's a lot of free for all in terms of the musicality of it. So I love a song that could be interpreted different ways. So like the movie version, the Broadway version have national tours. Like I could listen to that song over. I will literally never get sick of it. It's the end of Act 1 fight scene called It's All Over. It's on the Tony Awards. It leads into Jennifer Holliday singing. I'm obsessed with it.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, okay. I know you're busy. I don't want to take any more of your time, but you know, everybody, please come see Seth on October 30th. It's going to be an amazing show.
I don't think I'm really like, I'm not really making the show sound funny. It's like it's really a pure comedy show. Like it's a comedy show, but there's just a lot of Broadway in it. But I sound so serious today. It's not really the style of the show at all. It's like pure comedy. I mean, like I literally have a whole segment on the Osmonds singing a medley from Fiddler on the Roof, which sounds like I made it up, but it actually, it is shocking. And as we say in the Jewish religion, a shanda, but it is hilarious. So yeah, it's a pure comedy show. And it's not like, if you love Broadway, come. If you love comedy, come. If you love Broadway, you'll love it. But if you just love comedy, come. Like I actually wrote it for people who don't know anything about Broadway. So it's Broadway lovers will love it because it's so much about Broadway, but it's for people who don't know anything about it. You will just trust me. Love Seth.
Trust Seth. Come see us. We're here October 30th. Everything's open. You can come in and buy tickets. You can do it online. Just, yeah.
Yeah, one night only. Because I'm running a show off Broadway, so I'm taking off that night. I have a show Friday night off Broadway. I'm going to fly to you guys, do Saturday night, and then I'm going to fly back to New York to do my show again off Broadway Sunday afternoon. So one night only.
Again, that generous spirit, we just so appreciate that you would do that for us.
It's gonna be fun.
So,
It's gonna be fun. All right. And I was just in Madison 2 weeks ago and I loved it. So I can't wait to go to Monroe.
oh, were you really?
I
Okay.
did a show at the
Yeah.
Overture.
Amazing theater. Yeah.
Yeah. I loved being in Wisconsin. So I can't wait to come back and have some cheese curls, whatever the hell. Something
Cheese
very fat.
curds. All right. We will have cheese curds ready and waiting for you.
I'm gonna have one. I'm on a diet. I'm not gonna have literally just one. So cut.
I guarantee you, Seth, you cannot eat just one. It's not a thing.
Oh God, we'll see. At my current weight, it's not gonna be cool. I need male Spanx. Anywho, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And we'll see you in a couple weeks.